not going to make this too long, but basically, this story is starting to be talked about in CNN politics. And it comes right on the heels of the last story that I read from some news journalist. I think she was at the New York Times or something. I honestly, it really didn't matter because she was like an amateur. And she was talking about black male toxicity when she was mentioning Kanye West and Herschel Walker. Because as you know, Herschel Walker is basically public enemy number one because he stands a really good chance of taking away Warnock's seat. So basically, you've got a lot of these black women in the media who are attacking black men and calling them toxic and this, that, and other, on top of everything else. But they're disappointed that we, as black men, because I don't live down there, but that black men didn't support, what was her name? I can't even remember her name. It'll come back to me. It's also in the story, but right now I'm like just going to just browse over this little story for you. Because really, the reality is what it really feels like to me, if you just cast aside all the bullshit, what it really looks like to me is that we're being set up as black men. And when the Democrats get their asses handed to them, we're going to take the blame for it. It's just like with Hillary Clinton's loss to Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton's loss to Donald Trump, they tried to blame blacks and say, oh, yeah, well, blacks didn't turn out enough. Never mind all the whites that were determined not to vote for Hillary because they either didn't like her or they wanted Bernie Sanders. But basically, it seems to me that we're being set up and that as soon as the Democrats get their asses kicked, we're going to be the people who are the scapegoats for the most part. So they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, if blacks had come out and voted, then the Democrats would have won. It's like, no. First of all, that would be ignoring the fact that a lot of blacks are voting Republican. And then on top of that, there's a lot of blacks who hate both parties so much that they don't want to vote for either. So as I'm basically saying, the setup is that we're basically about to be scapegoats when the Democrats get their fucking asses kicked. So anyway, black men say that they feel ignored by politicians. A historic Senate face-off between two black men isn't helping. Atlanta. Aaron Bethia says he has voted election after election for U.S. presidents, governors, and senators, and yet those lawmakers have done little to nothing to improve life for him, his family, or his community. Bethia said he believes the issues he cares about, financial freedom, equal investment in predominantly black schools, have largely been ignored. Where we are from, nobody really cares about what black men think, said Bethia, an Atlanta father of 6 who owns a wholesale company that sells televisions. They don't do anything for us. Bethia, who's 40, said he still plans to vote Democratic in Georgia's hotly contested gubernatorial and U.S. Senate races. Let me stop right there. If you absolutely believe that these people have done nothing for you, then why are you voting for them? I guess that's a fair question, right? But he's not voting with enthusiasm. He said he is hoping that one day someone will prioritize the needs of black men. Bethia is not alone. Political analysts, researchers, and black male leaders say politicians are failing to reach some black men with messaging that resonates with them and visibility to their communities. Those shortcomings could particularly hurt Democrats in the upcoming midterms, given black men are the second most loyal voting bloc for the party next to black women, experts say. Well, okay, let me stop right there. First of all, I've said this before. I believe that in general, black men right now are suffering from grief and anomie. First of all, they're suffering from grief having to deal with black women. That's number one. Number two, they're suffering from anomie based upon being in a system that they feel isn't working for them, is working against them, and is prioritizing illegal aliens, foreigners, and foreign workers over them who are already here. So as far as I'm concerned, when I say the word enemy, keep in mind, enemy means that basically you find no part in the society that you're in and that you basically give up on it and you go your own way. Basically, you could look the word up. But for the most part, that's exactly what's being expressed here. If somebody is not enthusiastic to vote, then that means that they just don't give a fuck about either party for the most part. See, me personally, I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote if for nothing more than to cast a vote of discontent. You can call it whatever you want. If you want to say I vote with hate, that's fine by me. Because first of all, there's people who I want to vote against, and I'm specifically voting against them by voting for their opponent. So I have a reason. The first of all, voting, you have a choice of why you vote. Most people vote with their pockets. If they think their pockets are being hurt by, I don't know, $5 and $6 gasoline per gallon, or if they think their pockets being hurt by high inflation, or if they think their pockets are being hurt by giving fucking money away to Ukraine and not taking care of business here, well, perhaps they're going to vote against the party who stands for those things for the most part. So we can only see. Election day is about a week from today. And as I've said, the real recession is going to begin pretty much the day right after election day. It's going to begin almost immediately. The truth is suddenly going to come out. But anyway, and while black men have increasingly supported Republicans in recent years, some say the GOP is still missing the mark. Well, that's because the GOP does not actively advertise to blacks. They just don't do it. I personally think the GOP doesn't actively advertise to blacks because they don't want to alienate their white base, for one. What the GOP will do is they will find a talking head black person that everybody pays attention to, and they'll uplift that person, whether it's Candace Owens, whether it's Herschel Walker, whether it's Herman Cain, whatever. They'll find one and they'll uplift that person. But what they don't do, and when I say actively advertise, the GOP doesn't actively come to any of these public schools with black kids in it. They don't have any programs where they're finding young black kids and setting them on a path towards republicanism. They don't go into black communities and actively do anything for the most part. See, the problem is they've allowed the Democrats to do that. And if they're doing it because they don't want to alienate their white base, then the GOP is never going to cease to be labeled racist. The GOP will never cease to be labeled the party for racists. The GOP will never cease to be labeled the party of white supremacists. In my opinion, I consider myself more Republican and more constitutionalist than most of these GOP representatives. Most of them stand for big government conservatism, and they also simultaneously support welfare states. They either support the welfare state or they support corporate welfare. I'm against both. So as far as I'm concerned, I feel like Ron Paul when Ron Paul says, it's not that I'm not a conservative, it's that you're not a conservative and you're labeling me not a conservative because you're a big government conservative and you want welfare and I don't. If it was up to me, the welfare state would be annihilated overnight, but I don't have that power. But they have had that power and they never did anything to stop it. They ran against welfare, but when they had the power in their hands and they had the supermajority and they had the presidency, they didn't put a stop to any of it. So that leaves me to believe that you're two sides of the same coin. The Democrats and Republicans are two sides of the same fucked up coin. Keep in mind that left wing and that right wing are both wings on the same fucking goddamn eagle. Political analysts worry that the lack of effective messaging could result in black men sitting home on November 8th, and Democrats like Stacey Abrams, that was the name I couldn't think of for some reason, who has made a late attempt to reach black men with a series of events, losing their races. Let me tell you something. Black people are pissed the fuck off. And no matter how much CNN, MSNBC, no matter how much they try to hide it, you're starting to see it now, and you're going to see the truth on election day. You're going to see the real numbers come election day. The reality is, and if you just think about it, there's plenty of reasons for Americans to be pissed off, especially at the Democratic Party. We went from having Trump in office and having a state of relative peace, trying to make North Korea peaceful, trying to be peaceful with Russia. We went from that to a state of fucking brink of nuclear World War III. So for people who consider foreign relations, yeah, they've got reason to be angry. Some of these people may still be considering the fact Brittany Griner is still in jail, and they may even think that had Trump been in office, she wouldn't be there right now. He might have been able to get her a pardon because if you're friends with Vladimir Putin, you could say, excuse me, let her out, and maybe he would have done it, right? Not this president. Some people, maybe their anger is towards gas prices that have been literally kicking their asses all year long. Gas is still damn near $4 a gallon at my Costco or my BJ's. Now, if you don't have that Costco or BJ's membership, you are paying $4 a gallon premium, or you're paying more than $3.50 for regular. Some people are angry about that. They have every right to be. Some people are angry about when they get their heating oil bill this winter, it's going to be high as fuck. Some people are angry at other things. Some people are angry at the inflation. Keep in mind, the Federal Reserve meets today, and they're talking right now about raising interest rates another 75 basis points. Understand something. All of these people who used to be able to go and lease and buy cars when they needed it, or used to be able to buy a house or rent an apartment, they can't afford any of that shit no more. Now, granted, there's some people who still have money. There are some couples who have money saved up. There's some couples and families who have money saved up. They can go buy a house. They can buy cars, this, that, and other. They can buy them cash in many cases. But the reality is, a lot of people are miserable because the life that they were living, they can no longer live it because the cost of borrowing money has gone up. America, for a very long time, has been living a quality of life that its own productivity does not justify. When interest rates were at 1%, 2%, 3%, it was easy to just go out and say, yeah, I need to buy a new car. I'm going to buy a new car. But with the turn of 2021 going into 2022, either you couldn't get what you wanted, or what you wanted was marked up ridiculously, or interest rates are so high that it kills the deals. So a lot of people are very, very upset. And that's just talking about cars. What about rent? Rent, my houses have mortgage, what was it called? Mortgage, tax, and insurance, those three. They were less than $2,000 when I bought the houses. Meanwhile, if you try to rent an apartment here in New York City, you're paying $4,000 a month for a fucking one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. If you're in Brooklyn, chances are you're paying close to $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. If you're in Queens, chances are you may be paying between $1,000 and $2,000 a month for an apartment, one-bedroom apartment in Queens. And that apartment's not even really an apartment. It's probably you're renting a room out of somebody else's house. People have a lot of reasons to be angry at the Democrats. So what I'm saying is, let me just understand the consequences of this. As I keep saying, the recession is officially going to begin on November 9th, the day right after Election Day. When these people either choose not to show up and vote, or they choose to show up and vote for the opposition, when the Democrats lose their supermajority, they lose the Senate, lose the House, and Kamala Harris's gavel don't mean shit because they don't have enough votes anymore, that's when you're going to see the truth about how this country's economy really is. That's when you're going to see the truth. Mark my words. That's when you're going to find out. Let's see, where are we? If some of them feel unmotivated because they don't feel spoken to, then you've really got a problem, said Jason Nichols, a professor of African American Studies at the University of Maryland, College Park. A lot of these campaigns don't hire black male advisors. They don't hire black men to actually tell them how to reach black men. See, that's kind of what I'm talking about. When I say the word enemy, I mean that these men feel that they have been left out. And it's funny because I like to also bring in the second perspective. White men. When I was talking about Daniel and I was talking about all these white boys that are not going into college and not enrolling in college, and how you got Daniel who says he feels left behind, it's not just black men anymore. It's white men too. White men feel that they've been left behind. Black men feel that they've been left behind. Each person blames the other, but they feel that they've been left behind. Not only that, I continue to say black men and white men are suffering from different levels of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief And on top of that, they are also simultaneously suffering from anomie. Why do you think that these school shooters, why do you think that these shooters in general, the violence, the gun violence, why do you think that these people are getting younger and younger? These young boys are angry, depressed, and they've got fucking guns. That's why. Why do you think that these people are getting younger and younger? These killers. These motherfuckers haven't even grown facial hair yet, and they're killers. Why do you think that? It never used to be like this, but it's like that now. They feel left behind. They feel angry. They feel depressed. Now, these women can easily see, and that's the sad thing. They keep hiring women to talk to the black males. They keep hiring women, even white women. They keep hiring white women to tell white men what they need to do and how they should feel and think. Let me explain something to you. That shit ain't gonna fly no more. And these women have constantly labeled men toxic, this, that, and other. I got news for you. Men don't give a fuck about your labels. They don't give a fuck if you call them toxic. They don't care. They're gonna do what men are programmed to do from 2 million years worth of evolution. They don't give a fuck about none of that shit. So if they decide that they're going to go out in a blaze of glory or with a bang, or if they're going to go out infamous, that's how they're going to go out. If they decide that they're going to take themselves out, that's what they're just going to do. They may decide to take a bunch of people and then themselves out. That's just what they're going to do. You can label them whatever you want. They don't give a fuck. But y'all can't understand that because you don't think like a man. If men lose their place in society, if men are cast down and women are uplifted ahead of them, if you take women and you put them ahead of the men and the men are no longer the leaders because you put somebody ahead of them, if you take away a man's job and you give it to a foreigner or illegal alien and then you make them pay the taxes for those foreigners and illegal aliens, I guarantee you war is coming. Civil war. And it'll be right here in your face, and there'll be nothing you can do about it. It's one thing to fight wars on the other side of the planet, 9,000, 10,000 miles away. Yeah, that's one thing. But if you declare war on half your population right here, and they decide, fuck this, I'm fighting back, that's when you got a problem. And that's exactly what this article is about. You've got a bunch of men who've said, you know what, fuck this shit. I don't even want to participate. I'm going my own way. I'm divesting myself. Now you're seeing it. Now you're hearing it. My videos, oh yeah, they'll take one of these females who wants to call men toxic, and they'll put, like, that was the very last article I read. They'll put that shit in one of these fucking articles in a newspaper that I could put in my bird cage for my canary to shit on. They'll put that there. But what you don't hear from is you don't hear from the men telling you why they feel the way they feel, why they're doing what they're doing. Just think about that. They got to get their perspective from someone who has nothing to do with these people. But that's what you get. That's exactly what you get, and therefore I use the word anomie. There was a article a little while ago I also covered. They called it the rise of single lonely men. They had a white man on the picture, and they're talking about these white men are rising up, single, lonely, depressed, and then you wonder why the fucking violence is going up. Why is it that your kids ain't safe in school? Why is it that your kids aren't safe from the other kids in school? You wonder why, but we're telling you why, and you're fucking ignoring it. Oh, we got to do a study to find out what's going on. We got to do a study. Oh, man, this is terrible. We got to put bans on bump stocks. It's like bump stocks had nothing to do with that shit. You had a single, lonely, depressed man, and he decided that he was going to go out with a bang. And that's what happened. But y'all keep this shit up, and you'll keep getting these results. It's just that simple. So anyway, so far, 39% of black voters have been men, and 61% have been women. 61% have been women. Now, what I've noticed when I was reading about statistics about voting, black women and Hispanic women outvote black men and Hispanic men. So in general, women tend to outvote the men in general. That's like a common thing. On certain wedge issues, white men tend to outvote women. But they're expecting that with this abortion ban by the Supreme Court, they're expecting women were supposed to come out, and they were supposed to come out really, really strong. But the problem is it depends on the region. New York, yeah, you may have high turnout of women for abortion. Florida, maybe. Texas, you may have a high turnout against. California, you may have a high turnout for. It really depends on region and state. But again, I can't be certain of what's happening because you have to see the numbers in order to be sure. So you got to wait till November 9th. That's when the truth comes out. Anyway, some polls have suggested that black men were gradually leaving the Democrat Party. Yeah, no shit. To vote for Republicans in 2020. 12% of black men voted for the former President Donald Trump. Let me tell you something. If Donald Trump was running today, he'd probably get 20 to 30% of the black male vote. All that bullshit that they ran on MSNBC and CNN, oh, he's a racist. Oh, that moron, Karen Hunter on SiriusXM, the day Trump got in office. I still have it on record. I still have it recorded on one of my videos. Oh, we're going to war. We're going to war. Trump didn't start any new wars. Trump tried to make peace with North Korea. Trump was at peace with Russia. Everything was normal between us and Russia and North Korea. Now with Biden in there, you're talking about fucking nuclear war and World War III. Just think about that one aspect. But that moron running her fucking mouth, got nothing to say. This is what her bent is. That's her bent. Got nothing to show, got nothing to say. No children, no man, no husband. But she's talking about war from a president who just got installed that day. That's what you're dealing with. That right there is what you're dealing with. And if you hear the anger in my voice, I speak for the rest of these men out there. Some polls have suggested that black men were gradually leaving. You goddamn right. Ted Johnson, a senior director at the Brennan Center for Justice, said some black men find Republicans more attractive because they promote individualism and the idea that hard work, not government dependence, leads to financial success. That right there is the reason why I am a registered Republican. That right there. In that simple sentence, simple sentence, that's why I'm a Republican. Some black men find Republicans more attractive because they promote individualism and the idea that hard work, not welfare, leads to financial success. There you go. That's it. In 2016, Johnson wrote in The Atlantic that a black person who supported Trump was likely a working class or lower middle class black man. Guess what, motherfucker? I make $200,000 a year. I'm not lower class, and I'm not middle class. Okay? Now, you said that based on some shit you just made up, but, whatever. And interested in alternative approaches to addressing what ails black America. So basically what you're saying is, black men love Trump so much that they were willing to put a virulent racist right smack dab in their face every fucking day. That's what they did, right? Mm-hmm. Still, Johnson said black men are not naive and will vote against a Republican candidate who they feel is unfit. Yet we felt Trump was absolutely fit, didn't we? 12% of us at least. And I bet if we held that election right now, I bet it would be close to 30, maybe even 40% of black men. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. And for some black men, that is the case with Walker, who is running against incumbent U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. As far as I'm concerned, I don't feel Walker is a strong candidate. It's just that when the people don't like the job that your party's been doing and when the people are disgusted with your politics, they're just willing to vote against you and they'll take whatever they can get. He's embarrassing himself. The matchup between Walker and Warnock is one of the closest and most critical Senate races in the country, as Republicans seek to win back control of the body, which is currently split 50-50 with Vice President Kamala Harris casting deciding votes with her little gavel. Well, guess what? After November 9th, your little gavel don't mean shit, dear. Okay, so anyway, Walker has been criticized by his opponents for being violent towards his ex-wife and claimed that he paid for the mother of one of his children to get an abortion. Walker told Axios last year that he was accountable for his past violent behavior and that people shouldn't be ashamed for confronting mental health issues. Okay. In an interview with NBC News, Walker acknowledged that he sent a $700 check to a woman who alleges. Let me tell you something. I'm going to stop reading right there. I don't give a fuck about abortion, okay? It's not one of my. First of all, there is no right to abortion, period. You pull out the Constitution, you can't show it to me. But what they try to do is, there's this one chick on Twitter. Her name is Joe something. She's not really important enough for me to remember. And they always pull out this bullshit. Oh, man, I look forward to the day when women have as many rights as men do to guns or some stupid shit like that. Yeah, there is a right to guns. It's called the Second Amendment. What you don't have is a right to abortion. Now, if you want a right to abortion, what you need to do is do it the right way and have a constitutional convention. Then you can codify it into law. One thing I've noticed, what you'll notice is they're talking about the Supreme Court taking away abortion rights. But what I've never heard them actually say is, well, who's going to codify abortion into law? Well, guess what, idiots? If you don't do a constitutional convention, and the states and the Constitutional Convention don't agree that we're going to make it a right, then you're not going to get it as a right. The Democrats are really good at imposing ad hoc law. They think that if you keep doing something long enough, then everybody will just agree with it, and they think that that becomes law. That's fucking wrong. No, it's not. No, it's not. So there is no right to abortion. That's the bottom line. I'm going to stop reading. I'm not going to read another thing about Herschel Walker and abortion because I don't give a fuck. It's got nothing to do with anything. But they've brought that up because they think that they can use that to broaden their wedge issue. That's what most of these women who pop up with the rape allegations and all these allegations, most of them, they pop up, they hang around until the election's over, and then you never hear from them again. And that's just the reality. That's the truth. That's that Me Too shit. That's that Me Too shit where they just pop up. Oh, somewhere buried in my hippocampus, he jumped on me. Kavanaugh jumped on me, and he rolled all over me and everything, and he hurt me, and my icy nipples is all hurting and everything in my hippocampus. And then you never hear from him again. Think about that for a second. They jump up, allegation, 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 allegation. And then you never hear from, after that election's over, you never hear from them again. They just disappear. Walker is currently polling at 11% with black men compared to 74% for Warnock. Walker's currently polling 11% with black men. Okay, yeah, well, that sounds about right, I suppose, for that area. Walker is just not an attractive, viable candidate for most black folks, Johnson said. I think there are black men who won't vote for Stacey Abrams, but will vote for Raphael Warnock. Recent polls show Republican Governor Brian Kemp with support from 16% of black men compared to 77% for Abrams. Johnson said he believes Kemp has more support from black men because some men still refuse to vote a woman into office. There is a strain of conservatism in black men that comes with a strain of sexism. First of all, let me address that right there. There is a strain of conservatism in black men. The reason why there's a strain of conservatism in black men, aside from the part about the Republicans praising individualism and hard work over a welfare state that brings in illegal aliens to replace us, but also because a lot of these black men grew up in the church. One of the reasons why these liberal leftist progressives are so desperate to weaken and get rid of the church is because the church indoctrinates certain things. The churches indoctrinate homophobia. The churches indoctrinate male leadership, i.e. patriarchy. The churches indoctrinate a number of other things. If I were to sit down and write this shit out, I could make a fucking book. Like, if you really think about it, like, I could talk these videos for what? I could talk through these things for hours if I really had to. If I had somebody sitting next to me ghostwriting this shit, I could come out with book after book after book. I'm not doing any fucking research. If you want to do research, you go do I'll get a ghostwriter. You go do the research. You get the stats, figures, and all that stuff. You pull that shit in there and prove me either right or wrong, and then we'll edit that part of the book, and then I'll update it. But the reality is, yes, a lot of these men grew up in the church. The church is conservative. It's the very definition of conservatism in America. The left is trying to destroy the church. And that's just what it is. They want to get rid of the church because they know that things just like this abortion issue, the church is not supporting that shit. Or the Catholic. Look at the Catholic Church. For the very longest, the Catholic Church absolutely would not support abortion. Now look, once you push the churches aside, once you make it so that people can't freely go to church and worship because you say that they've got the the cough, you're pushing the church aside. And I've said this before a long time ago, and now I'm saying it on video. There you go. Okay. In recent years, Republicans have faced criticism for being sexist. Oh, here we go. Sexist, misogynistic, and rejecting women's rights. Uh-oh. Oh my God, how long is this? I gotta keep doing this for an hour. Shit. Walker's candidacy was the topic of discussion for several black men who gathered at Anytime Cuts Barbershop in Atlanta on a recent Monday afternoon. The chat was part of a series hosted by Urban League of Greater Atlanta's Black Male Voter Project and Black Men Decided, offering black men a chance to discuss voting and issues that matter to them. Some of the black men present said that they found it offensive that the GOP would pit Walker, a former NFL running back with no political experience and a troubled past against Warnock, a beloved figure in Atlanta's black community who pastored the church once led by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. You know what's funny? They didn't put doctor in his name, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because as far as I know, that's how you're supposed to say the whole name. But they just took out the doctor, but whatever. The guy is looking like a fool, said Antoine Hawkins, a 46-year-old barber. Antoine. That's who we want to put in place to speak for us. Well, here's a question, Antoine. If you don't like this guy, why don't you run? Huh? Antoine? I mean, you're a public figure, right? You're a barber. You should be able to get signatures as they come in and out of your shop, right? Because he's a black man? No. To me, he looks like an idiot. Bethia said after the barbershop event that Walker's candidacy feels like a sick joke. Yeah, well, they said the same shit about Trump, and you see how that went. His economy was doing reasonably well right up until he opened his mouth about China, and then China shut the whole fucking world down with that. You know what I'm saying? I think he's embarrassing himself, Bethia said. I don't play the field in a position that I don't know how to play. Someone talked him out of staying in his lane. Bethia said he plans to vote for Warnock because he's a more qualified candidate and a pillar in the community. My thing is, listen, I don't know who's going to win down there. I'm not down there. I don't vote in their elections. Whoever y'all vote for, that's on you. If you like the way things are going, vote the way you want to vote. That's it. That's all I got to say. I believe in representative democracy. Okay, I'm going to skip down just a little bit. It says everyone has a past, everyone has done something wrong. Okay, so basically what they're doing is they're just going through each person saying their little spiel or whatever. Okay, black men say they need tangible results. Yes, I expect if I vote for you that I see shit get done. I want to see stuff happen immediately. The survey concluded that 41% of black men disapproved of the job Joe Biden is doing. 41% of black men disapprove of the job President Joe Biden is doing to address the needs of the black community. Now, this is CNN Politics, mind you. This is not Fox News. CNN says 41%. The group at Anytime Cuts named financial security, student loan forgiveness, police reform, healthcare reform, and improving jail conditions as their top concerns. Well, as far as I'm concerned, improving jail conditions, I don't give a fuck about jail conditions. The thing about it is what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stay out of jail. That's really what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go to jail so often that you're worried about the conditions in jail. Right? Okay, most said they vote in elections but rarely see lawmakers making decisions that help them personally or their communities. Do something about policing. Do something for the people that really can't help themselves. I don't think people choose to be homeless and hungry. Hawkins and Matthias said they have given up waiting for policies that will close the wealth gap and give Black Americans a fair shot at success. They are focused on providing for their families. We can't sit around and wait for legislation to change because the kids are at home hungry. Jesus Christ, this is long. What else? Some of these sentiments. Says some of these same sentiments are felt by Black men nearly 900 miles away in New York. My son, Lennon, a popular activist and rapper from the... it says rapper. I'm just going to skip that part. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what any rapper from the Bronx says. These rappers have very short shelf lives, as you've just seen with, what's his name? Takedown or Quiet Down. I forget what his name is. Takedown, I think it was. These rappers have very short shelf lives, and I don't think they speak for me at all. I don't want them speaking for me. I don't give a fuck what he got to say. Next, they have to... Wait. Let me go to somebody else. In the past few months, Abrams has hosted a series of events that targeted Black men in Georgia and released a Black man's agenda that details her plans to invest in Black-owned small business, expand Medicaid, increase funding to schools and the opportunities for job training, and hold police accountable. Okay? But Lennon and Nichols agreed that Abrams' efforts may have come too late. Nichols said he fears that some Black men are already planning to sit, oh goddamn, already? Jesus. On election day or vote for Kemp, damn. I think she didn't necessarily get the right advice at the right time, and now it feels like she's pandering, Nichols said. I think she really is concerned, but I think it comes across to some like we've been ignored all this time. Nichols said he urged 2024 election candidates to do more outreach to Black men and Black families. That's what I've been saying. The organization Black Men Vote has already launched a national campaign to register 1 million Black male voters by November 2024. NAACP President Derek Johnson said those seeking public office must prioritize the needs of Black men if they want to win. It is incumbent upon both political parties and all candidates to understand that the votes of African American men are not guaranteed. Johnson said it's an important voting bloc and candidates must speak to them so they can see how their vote really can support democracy and their quality of life. Well, okay, so first of all, as an African-American male and a registered Republican, let me just be the first to say this. Just like I've talked about the fact that whites are constantly talking out loud and marching and this, that, and other about the fact that they think that they're being ignored and they think they're being replaced. Well, let me just say this. Black men are being ignored and Black men are being replaced. Who are you being replaced by? You're being replaced by illegal aliens who are being brought in, who are being given all of the opportunities that were presented to you, whether you were smart enough to go after them or not, and take those opportunities and make something of them. Yes, you're being replaced. Not only are you being replaced by that, but even with the census specifically, the 2020 census showed that whites had fallen behind and Blacks had made very little progress, while Hispanics and Asians had made the majority of progress. Do I begrudge them? Absolutely not. But the point still stands. Whites and Blacks in this country have been crippled by this economy. And you've been crippled by the taxes, and you've been crippled by your immigration policy, and you've been crippled by your politics. And that's just what it is. And now you're seeing people popping up, expressing their discontent, expressing their grief, expressing their anger, expressing their depression. They are all expressing and know me. They do not feel that they are part of this system. They do not feel that the system is working for them. And they do not feel any loyalty whatsoever to the system. So they are now very quick to jump up and say, guess what? My vote doesn't belong to you just because of the color of my skin. I don't have to vote for you. I don't have to go out and show up to vote. Keep in mind, you have every right not to vote at all. You have every right to go out and vote, but you have every right not to vote at all. Free speech means Congress shall make no law to basically hinder your freedom of expression, religion, such and such. But guess what? You have a right to remain silent, they say. You have a right to vote, but you also have a right to remain silent. You have a right to speak. But if you don't want to speak, you don't have to. So for these people who are saying, you know what, fuck this, I'm staying home. Well, I've always heard that if you don't vote, you vote for the person who wins. That's what I've always heard. I heard that a long time ago when I was a kid. I've never heard it again because now television is stupid and you don't learn shit anymore when you watch television. It's just entertainment. But that said, if you really feel that you're so disgusted by both parties that you don't want to vote for at all, understand that when you wake up November 9th and you find out who won, that's when you'll know who you voted for. Because in not voting for somebody, you voted for the person who won. Either you made it easier for the person who won, or you made it harder for the person who was the runner-up because you didn't support them either. But that's just one way of looking at it. So, my thing is, for those people who don't want to vote, believe me, after what I've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, I totally understand you. I have nothing against you. I totally understand why you don't want to vote. Me personally, I'm showing up. And let me tell you something, I don't do this early voting and this fucking vote by mail shit. I don't do that. When I fucking vote, I show up to the poll place just so I can make my presence felt as well as my voice. When they read those rosters and they're looking for my name and everything, they're like, oh, it says you're a registered Republican right here. They might look at me and they go, oh, well, why are you a Republican? And the moment they start that and they ask that question, I'm going to explain why. Because I don't mind getting into an argument like that. I'll explain my position and I'll explain the reasons why. And that's just in case somebody asks, which at a polling place, I don't think they're allowed to ask. But the thing about it is, for the most part, polls are pretty cool. It's like I've gone to polls, I voted, I vote. It's just a seamless process. I've never had any problems. At some of these polling places, you got people standing outside with fucking guns and shit. You got tactical gear and people standing outside with rifles. I don't know if in some places there's been laws passed that say that you're not allowed to open carry near a polling place. Most of these polling places, there's usually armed police and there's usually some type of security presence felt. But the bottom line is, it's like if you want to vote and if you just want to show these motherfuckers how angry you are, then you should go vote. And that's what I'm saying. If you want to really piss these people off and show them just how fucking angry you are, you should pick the lesser of the two evils and you should say, yeah, I'm going to either go for that or I'm going to pick the eviler of two evils and I'm going to go for that. But it's up to you. It's up to you. So if you don't want to vote, I ain't got nothing against you. If you want to vote, good for you. Go down there, make your presence heard.
To be continued.